Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Zen Blonde podcast. It's your girl, Lauren, and today I am joined by a very special guest from the Great North. She is from Canada, Montreal to be exact. Her name is Emily Rose, and you might know her on TikTok from her account called itsbecomeawholething, where she dives into everything pop culture and beyond. And Emily and I connected because we both had sort of a spiritual path before we went down the pop culture path, because we do contain multitudes. Anyway, welcome to the show, Emily.
Hi. Hi,
It's
Lauren.
amazing to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
I know, this is such a delight. I don't know if it cut off, but I was so hyped up to talk to you. I was like grooving when I heard the intro song.
I hope we caught you dancing, just because I think it'll make for a better YouTube. But that is
Like
iconic.
the Ellen show.
You know what I love about Ellen is that the tweet or the meme that was like, Ellen like says she loves to dance, and then somebody saw her at a wedding and she didn't dance at all. It's just too
Turns
good.
out dancing and kindness are not actually really her things.
Oh my God, yeah. I feel like Ellen has had quite a few years. And I mean, did you see the interview with her too, where she was like, somebody was like, oh, it was Jenna Bush who was like, oh, you didn't make it to 20 years. And she's like, well, I think 19 is perfect. I actually like 19 better. And she got all defensive. Like, there's so
She was
many
like,
clips with
she was like,
Ellen.
she's like, she's like, it's 19 years and the 20th is the last year. That's the year when it starts the next chapter. So that's the 20th year. And it was like, she's like, that doesn't make any sense.
She was trying to like rationalize her show getting closed before reaching like a nice, beautiful whole number. It was just like, truly just, if you haven't watched this and you're listening, just Google like awkward Ellen DeGeneres, Jenna Bush interview, and you'll be like, it all, I feel like it's one of those things now we can connect the dots backwards and be like, it all makes sense that she was awful.
Yeah, yeah, and Dakota Johnson has really come out on top of all of this.
Oh, Dakota Johnson totally came out
Oh
on
my God.
top.
Yeah, Dakota Johnson, right? The one who's like, "No, Ellen, I was invited to your party." Is that
Yes, so Ellen
Dakota?
Ellen had Dakota Johnson on her show. And Dakota Johnson, you know, she was like, she had a birthday party and she was like, oh, I wasn't invited. And she's like, actually, I did invite you. And she was like, I didn't think you liked me. So she kind of pulled the curtain back for us. So Dakota Johnson really did do us a service. Although I have heard, you know, a friend of mine who has met almost every celebrity in LA just by virtue of bopping around and isn't shy about saying hi to them. I did hear Dakota Johnson was not the nicest. So, you know, maybe her moment is coming next.
Just two people having a tense conversation who are both like awkward behind the scenes. Although I don't think Dakota Johnson like portrays the image of someone who's all super warm. Like she always is a bit like stilted. But Ellen has truly made it like she painted herself into a corner by making it like her brand that she's like, I'm the nice one. Be kind. Like
I mean, literally, I
she
could go on for hours because there's also the footage of her like telling somebody that they won like a much bigger prize and then like they actually won like a much smaller prize. Like you can find it online. I can't remember what it was, but it was somebody who like, you know, could have really benefited from the bigger cash prize or whatever it was. And then they find out that it's like $100 gift card to Target or something like.
Oh, the one that I was most offended by was when they like told everyone that they could have free merch, but they were like, try to just take one, and then they like filmed this lady like taking a whole bunch, and like that would be me if I was at some fancy show and like they were like, okay, like go easy on the free merch table. I'd be like, yeah, like, and then she brought her up on stage and like shamed her and like kept playing the clip back of her like pocketing all like more
Why,
than one
why
free
have
merch.
I never seen this? Oh my
Well,
God, that is so good. I'm Googling that immediately after.
but it was like so uncomfortable. Like she brought her up on stage from the audience and like shamed her publicly. It was like Game of Thrones, like
Oh,
shame, shame.
I'm immediately Googling this footage after, and I think like the other favorite thing about Ellen DeGeneres is the people that think her name is Ellen the Generous. Have you seen that?
No.
There's like so much Ellen content, and I mean, I I make no secret of it. Like my sister lives in San Luis Obispo, and like our halfway meeting point is like Santa Barbara / like Montecito. It's about equidistant of each of us. So I've driven through like the Oprah, Ellen, Meghan Markle, Harry neighborhood, and like I always just say to my sister, I'm like, these people like didn't do the pandemic. It's like a different, like they are living in like a different reality where like even just like driving down the streets there, like you feel like you're at like the nicest resort you've ever been at, and like you're underdressed, and like trees like this haven't existed in California for like 200 years, and it's just like a whole vibe, if you will.
Well, like, yeah, I guess when you don't have to like shop for yourself or, you know, mingle with the normal people on a regular day, you're like, and you're just mostly hanging out in your house with your like 10 horses or whatever she has. It's like,
and
like, yeah, I'm good.
Chickens.
Yeah, all her like animals. Yeah, she's doing fine.
She'll be just fine. So, now my question for you, because we're coming hot off the Grammys, and I don't know that Ellen was there, but did you watch the Grammys this year?
I did not.
So same here, but did you still manage to see it all because of the clips?
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, I watched clips. I just like I just can't. I can't. It's so painful. And the thing is too, like the big players weren't there. Like Taylor Swift wasn't there. Beyonce, Miley Cyrus, Ariana Grande. Like none of them were there. I mean, Addison Rae was. Like I think that tells you what you need to know about the vibe at the Grammys.
Oh my God. And like also, I mean, I can't fault anyone for like not remembering how to dress for an awards show, but like speaking of Addison Rae, like she wore like, I feel like a slip from like Lulu's. Like I was like, what are you wearing? Like everyone dressed so horribly this year, not to be like mean, but like I think we're all just like shaking off the pandemic and like remembering how to go to events again. Maybe I'm gonna chalk it up to that. But the Grammys this year were awful, and I didn't even watch them.
Yeah.
I watched
they
clips
were
of them.
no, it's fair. And I mean, the thing about Addison Rae is like, even if she wore like some, you know, amazing like Versace number, people would still be like mad. She just looks on every red carpet, she looks to me like someone who knows people don't want her there, and she's just trying to do her like cute little smiley thing, but she's like, oh, this is awkward, like behind her eyes. So I'm like, yeah, and it's true. People are like, what are you doing here? But hey, nice to see some fellow TikTokers. Nice to see some TikTok representation.
Honestly, I mean, really, like TikTok has taken the awards show circuit by storm. I didn't see my invite in the mail, but I'm sure it was just lost to the Oscars. But there was also a ton of TikTokers at the Oscars, and they were like reporting
walked
live.
So we can run. Addison walked so we can later run. We'll get our invite next year. You know, she's paving the way for us.
Addison danced so we so we could also dance. Oh my God, it's so funny. I mean, I think it's just a testament to like the TikTok space, because I think we're seeing the same migration that happened from Facebook to Instagram, and now Instagram is going to TikTok, and like anyone that's not realizing it is just kind of missing the boat a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And like, yeah, I mean, I think I guess the thing is, when you're like, oh, did you watch the Grammys? For me, as you're asking that, I'm realizing like, oh yeah, I guess that would have been an option to tune in live. But I knew there'd be all the highlights, and there'd be all the like top 20 most like awkward moments of the Grammys like, list, and I could just cruise that. And I've looked them over, and it's like kind of what I was expecting, you know, like kind of dystopian, kind of upsetting, kind of boring.
Literally the perfect description of it. And you know, I mean, I personally boycotted because I was like, all right, we have Kanye West up for 5 Grammys. And you know, Marilyn Manson is on some of those songs, and I believe he won for a song called Jail Part 2 that Marilyn Manson was on, and you know that I have a lot of gripes with that man. I feel like
I can't even handle Marilyn Manson content. Like I couldn't even watch the documentary because he upsets me so much.
Oh no, not at all. The documentary was terrible, and I feel like it's been rolling out for the past year. And you know, I posted something about it on TikTok, and people were like, well, you have to let the music speak for itself. And I'm like, okay, then why did Will Smith slapping Chris Rock in the face become such an issue? And he has to step down from the Academy, and like people are talking about taking away his Oscar. If we're gonna, you know, treat a physical assault on a male like that, then why don't we have the same reverence for women when something happens to them? So, and I mean, Kanye is
Let's
just, the
take
behavior's so
everyone's
bad.
award. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. I mean, the people saying like, "Oh, let's take Will Smith's Oscar away." It's like then basically we need to take everyone's Oscar and Grammy away. Like, if you want to go there, if you want to open up that Pandora's box, then we got to go to Harvey Weinstein's like 80 Oscars or whatever. We got to go to like uh Woody Allen. We have to go to like Marilyn Manson being nominated. We got to do some
Absolutely.
deep spring cleaning in that case.
I know, and that was one of the big points that was made is like, okay, let's take Harvey's Oscars away then, which honestly, like, at this point, I think that they should be confiscated from his home, but he's rotting away in jail. The one thing I loved about Harvey Weinstein that I learned this year, did you see that they designed one of the orcs after him because they hated him before all this came out in Lord of the Rings?
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Amazing.
I mean, it was iconic work. But yeah, I mean, and then there was Louis C.K. up for best comedy album, and he won. And in 2017, he had the scandal where he had like exposed himself to women, either on the phone or in person. He admitted to it, and it's just like, okay, like there are tons of great comics out there, you know.
But not just that, but like fellow comics. And to me, that's relevant because it's like that's like your boss doing that to you, and it's like not only it's like is as if that was your boss and that boss gave you access to the entire industry that you want to be involved in. And like he knows that, and then the fact that he freaking, can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, this fucking asshole, like he makes me so mad because I still have like friends in my life who are like, oh, he didn't really do anything wrong, and I I see red, but he jokes about it on his on this album that he won the Grammy for. He's like, wow, I know never to like mess up, like to never get caught like doing that again, like makes light of it and doesn't fully take responsibility for it. And so he gets rewarded for that in the year 2022. Okay.
Yeah.
And yet Will Smith is like, the terror that we need to watch out for.
It's such a double standard, and it's like, okay, when it happens to women, like I guess it just doesn't matter. If it's going to happen to a man, like we're going to make a big stink out of it. Or if we can see it on the live, on a live stage, we're gonna make a big stink out of it, but we're not gonna care if it's like a woman. So anyway, that was why I boycotted the Grammys, and then I made a TikTok about it. And actually, one of the people that commented on the TikTok was Holly Madison, which I was so excited about because I've done so many stories on the secrets of Playboy, and I'm like, oh, I guess maybe she's like catching on to them because some of them have gone viral. And she just wrote yikes, and I was like, yeah, see, even Holly Madison knows that it's yikes. But it was in Vegas this year, and it was just such a hot mess. I mean, did you see also like Billie Eilish's outfit? Like, what is going on? What is going on?
She's just like, I feel like there's all this like after the pandemic, it's like duvet couture, like people are just like wrapped in their duvets, like but doing the like high fashion version. Like it kind of reminds me of like the Met Gala last year, like Rihanna and ASAP Rocky kind of both arrived in these like sleeping bag style outfits, and I was like into it. Like I always want to be cozy. I know you're into the cozy, like we're both like in our nice sweaters today.
I know, I was like, a cozy gal.
Yeah, but I'm like, no, this for me is like getting, I put on my non-stained athleisure wear today just for the occasion, but like that's what I feel like they're doing too, but they're doing the like high fashion version.
Yes, I almost felt like Billie Eilish. I don't know if you've ever seen like a bag lady, one of those like things you have in your kitchen where you stuff the like plastic bags into. You know what I mean? She almost looked like a bag lady.
You could like pull one from the middle, like just
yep,
from the little holes. Oh my god!
I was like, do you have some Target bags hiding under there?
And do you know what was the weirdest? Well, the weirdest and also like not surprising for me was the president of Ukraine introducing John Legend. That was the most dystopian to me, and the most like the most like Hollywood being disconnected from reality, like being like, yes, the people totally need to see this like inspirational message.
It's Imagine
The
season
president of
3.
Ukraine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, president of Ukraine joining forces with John Legend, inspiring the people. Like, what?
I truly can't. Sometimes it's just like, I wonder if that's going to become an SNL skit. Probably not, because Zelensky was like great, and like I so like feel for him and like wanting to put that message out there. But then you have like literally the most disconnected people like on the face of the earth, and you know he's introing John Legend, and like it's just what a hot mess.
No, exactly. No, like I'm not I'm like pro Zelensky.
Oh
No,
yeah,
it's
I
not
know
even
you
that.
are.
It's just him presenting to this like all these, you know, wealthy people in their like ball gowns being like, "Yep, here I am." It's like, what was this the move? Was this what we needed? And like, why is John Legend involved? You know?
I know, like
Like,
I feel like he and Chrissy were there with the whole family, and I mean she's been hot off the heels of her own like scandals with especially being called out for bullying like Courtney Stodden, which Courtney Stodden was just on Call Her Daddy, and I didn't get the chance to listen to it, but like Courtney Stodden is one of the people that I think deserves like the most justice out of like anyone basically. She was a child bride. Like her parents like sold her down the river to
yeah,
this old man who was
she
a
was
predator.
trafficked.
I mean, it was just
Yeah, she was
terrible.
trafficked by her own family.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think she's finally now just getting the justice she deserves. I saw John Legend and Chrissy Teigen at the premiere of The Adam Project, and they cut in front of me in line. And I have to say, like, in photographs, Chrissy's like beautiful, and they're like a beautiful couple. But like in real life, like they were like such an attractive couple. Like it was unreal. People are always so
Oh,
different in
yeah.
person, but they're so tall. Like she's so tall.
Yeah. She's very beautiful. She's really doing her darndest to uncancel herself. Like she's like putting feelers out. Like I've kind of kept track of her social media because I'm like, how do you get yourself out of this? Like, you know, cancel culture isn't real. Everyone finds a way to like get, but she's really like, wow, guys, it's been so tough being canceled. If anyone has any advice, if anyone else has been canceled, like reach out and like give me some advice. I'm like, oh my good God. Like I have a tiny violin if you need to play you a sad little song in your big mansion if you need help.
You
Like,
actually killed
she's like,
me.
I've learned. Well, she's like, I've learned. I'm like, you were in your like late 20s, like telling a child to like, you know, unalive themselves who was being trafficked. So I don't like. What did you learn since then?
Oh my God,
Like,
I know. And it's like, the thing is, you don't have to be a man to be a misogynist, you know? And like, I think there's just like so much internalized misogyny there. And we were in this time where like it was totally okay to just like rip women apart and like not even like take notice of the man involved in the situation. And it was just like how she was the one that took the hit. My friend John Joseph, like he lives in Santa Clarita, and there was like a pumpkin patch where like she was like made to leave. That she was
Chrissy
going to
Teigen?
like no Courtney Stodden.
Wait, when she did the sexy pumpkin patch photo shoot?
I don't know if she did the photo shoot there. I didn't get
I
that detail.
remember. Oh my God, what's wrong with me that I remember this? When she was with Doug, she did a sexy pumpkin patch photo shoot with him in full regalia. So
Maybe that's why.
that,
Maybe that's the missing detail. Maybe there were children present.
and yes, I'm unwell that I like remember this from God knows what, like how long ago, but like this it's seared into my memory because this was when she had the kind of like 90s makeup. She kind of had like the full Pamela Anderson vibe and was like really like nothing to her. I mean, she was just obviously in a horrible situation, but she would like do the really exaggerated like facial expressions, and they were like doing a sexy couples kind of like a boudoir photo shoot, but in like sexy pumpkin patch country gal outfit.
Do you think like
So
children were walking by and they're like, "Mom"?
Children should not have seen that. It was like a full, like,
But
that was meant for no one's eyes.
But you know what? If the children did see it, I blame Doug or whatever his name is, because he clearly has no consciousness around what's okay for children or not. I don't know how he's not like locked up for that. I mean, it's just like beyond crazy
he's a
to
monster.
me. Beyond crazy. And her parents, like, God, insanity.
Yeah. Well, her mom like tried to date Doug after. It was, yeah.
I remember seeing like Marriage Boot Camp, and like I remember that's when I started kind of like paying attention and being like, oh, like they're trying to work out their marriage. And like I think it all just dawned on me like in the past like 2 years, because I've had friends that have like made TikToks about it and stuff where I've been like, oh my God, like that was really, really terrible. You know, and I wasn't really like paying attention to it as much, but that's absolutely insane. Now our girl Olivia Rodrigo won a few awards. I don't know if you saw that. And then she dropped one of her Grammys, and I thought she broke a Grammy, but what I found out
she did
is that they're actually fake Grammys that they give you, and your real ones get shipped to you after the award show. So it's not as big of a deal to drop it.
Oh, so it was like a dollar store Grammy that she broke.
I'm like, do they like...
It was like made of cake.
She was actually going to film a TikTok after and like cut into it and be like, surprise, like, is it cake or not?
I don't know, like, I don't know if I'm like just paying attention to like things as cake. Like, I know that's been a thing for a while, but I feel like it's heating up now. I just feel like everything's cake, and there's a show on Netflix, and I'm like, this needs to stop. I don't know if
I can't even trust when I pick up my cell phone that it's not going to be like a red velvet.
That's what I saw TikTok where a guy was like, now I can't trust anything, and I'm just going to start stabbing into things. Like, I just like test out if things are cake.
There's a whole culture of like stabbing into things. I saw somebody like stabbing into like a very I guess waterlogged home, and it was like the home was very easy to like cut into. He was like a home inspector, and he just kept on stabbing the home in different places, and I was like, dear Lord, there's just a whole thing about it. But then I actually saw this woman who made like a very realistic looking coffee cup. Okay, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't like, but it was really, really good. And the amount of hatred she got on the comments section over like the way the foam looked, and people were like, this is so unrealistic. Yeah, it was cake. It was cake.
Okay.
And it was just, this is so unrealistic. And I was like, I was commenting back to them. I was like, oh, like I'd love to see your attempt. Like, TikTok is just so fucking crazy, and people are just insane. Like, everyone's ready to be Simon Cowell, but nobody's ready to sing. You know?
Yeah, I want to cancel the realistic cake people making objects. Not actually, but I'm like, you're actually making me not trust the world. So the people that are making it kind of off, that's okay with me. That looks more like cake.
It's like, you know how there's like a dent in David's knee, you know? You just have to have like one little imperfection so I can trust the world. Yeah. It's like every day is April Fool's with this fucking cake.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm glad you brought up April Fool's, because I'm actually here on your podcast to confront you about your April Fool's prank. That's the real reason I agreed to this.
This is a red table talk about what I did on April Fool's.
Yeah, turn the cameras on. No. Change. Yeah, we'll switch out the set. I am here to talk to you.
I'm live with all of your followers who hate you right now.
Yeah. We've come here to, this is a full intervention. Like, so, okay, I need to preface this story by saying that, like, I can't handle April Fools. Like, I'm not fun like that. I just like can't go along with the joke. Like, I'm too gullible. I get got every year by constantly all day long. And I had a friend over all day, and she was like, I was so glad we were going to be together, because all day she's like, I knew I'd be looking at you and you'd be gasping your Instagram thing, and you're like, damn it. And like showing me something like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, wait. This happened from morning to night. I kept forgetting. And yours, like, I was so on board. Like, I pictured me visiting, seeing, okay, for everyone who's listening who didn't see, Lauren was like, I'm getting a Great Dane puppy. I was like, amazing, love big dogs. Like, I totally like see that for you. I was like, I'm gonna visit someday, and the dog's gonna be like kind of grown. Like, what if it's like an awkward teenager Great Dane? Like, I saw my life visiting this Great Dane, and, like, and then you were like April Fools, and I was like, once again, I've been had.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I know. And it's so funny because I went into that joke completely on like a different, like with a completely different objective than fooling my followers. And actually, the people who really got were followers and friends that haven't seen my apartment. My mom was a little bit more difficult to convince. So the reason why I did the joke, it's every day is April Fool's for my mom because I'm always pranking her. So, like, this woman is always expecting it from me, and I'm always, I love to get a rise out of her. It's a way of showing love. And so my mom, my sister got like this Labradoodle, and it's like, it's not even a big Labradoodle. It's like 45 pounds, but like anytime my sister goes to do something, be it like the car she's gonna get, the house she's gonna move into, if it's like, if anything in my mom's like frame of thinking is a little bit off from what she conceives this dog should be in, she's like, look, Caroline, you have a large animal. And it's a 45-pound dog. So she loves to call it like a large animal. You'd think Caroline's dog was the size of a horse. So I was like, how funny would it be if my mom thought I was getting a Great Dane puppy? But I had to create a paper trail. I still haven't shut off the Chase College thing. My parents don't give me any money, but my mom can see my account, and she's very good at monitoring fraud. So I let her see it. So I knew that. So I made a donation to a Great Dane foundation. I donated like $20 because then she'd see like Great Dane of Northern California. And I did all these little things to create a paper trail. I had my sister and her boyfriend in Las Vegas on the front lines just I told Caroline, I was like, you need to act like you're not approving of it. I have a small apartment, I'm busy, like I probably shouldn't get a dog right now. I thought about it, but if I get a dog, it's gonna be like the size of like a parasite that could come out of your body. Like it's gonna be like, the size of a tapeworm. It's gonna be really, really tiny, so. Yeah.
Well, Lauren, did you know that Great Danes are actually good apartment dogs, they say? Because that's like, okay, that's actually like, this is not about you. This is about me, like literally not being capable of this type of fun. Like I'm just not. I'm like the fun police with pranks. But like I think people that have sisters can like totally are like built to roll with this type of stuff because you grew up with some like wild there's like wild sister stuff that happens where it's like you guys are just you have to be on your toes. I'm like an only child mode being like, why would you do that? But I think I've also just separately heard, I think maybe I'm getting my facts mixed up, like don't come for me people, but I think like Great Danes are actually supposed to be good apartment dogs because they just sleep all the time, I think.
You and Fluently Forward both told me this, like our girl Shannon. So I think it's true. And listen, the things that I see leaving my apartment in Venice, I was in the alleyway the other day and I see this like weathered looking golden retriever and I'm like, ooh, a golden retriever. And then I see the man behind him who literally, he looks like an older like Charles Manson, just doing shifty things. So me and my sister jump into the car, and as we're rolling out, we see he has a machete tucked into his waistband. And I'm just like, oh, wonderful. And oh God, I mean, my neighbor texted me the other day. She's like, somebody took a shit behind my car. Just to beware. And I'm like, at any time, like a Great Dane would be very useful in Venice. I just don't want to, the biggest thing for me right now is if a dog wakes up at night, I'm kind of scared to walk it. You know what I mean? Like my neighborhood can be a little crazy. It's fun. Yeah. It's lots of fun things to do, but you have to sleep with one eye open. So it's a whole thing, but I'm sorry for tricking you. And I did trick other people into thinking that, that Kylie Jenner had named her baby Michael, which would, in my mind, make it Michael Scott. But I was corrected many times that Travis Scott's real last name is Webster, so he would really be Michael Webster. But I thought it was pretty funny. I liked it. I thought it was a good one.
Oh my God! Until I didn't actually even register that because I saw that post and I didn't even register that was also not real, like that it was Michael.
It's all unfolding.
Oh my God. This is literally why I'm here today. It's funny because I've been saying this whole time, all these celebrities, not just Kylie, but the most like wild and out there thing, because we all know celebrities are supposed to name their kid like Apple or whatever, Stormy, whatever, some like wild thing. The wildest thing you could do is name them like John or David or like Michael, like it, just name them a super normal name and then be like, what, and not even acknowledge it. That would be the craziest thing you could do.
I know. Like, what if it was just Brian or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
Brian. Yeah.
Something
or like
just
Linda.
Super. Do you think anyone has named their baby Karen this year?
No. Probably. Maybe.
Do you think
like
people ever
maybe
name their baby Karen again?
Maybe like Karens will name, like, pass down. Maybe if there's like, a third generation Karen. They'll just want to like keep that legacy going. They have enough like Karen energy that they're like, don't let anyone tell you like otherwise. Karen's a perfectly normal name. Like, that would be a Karen-y thing to do.
I'm actually crying. Oh my god, that is so funny. That is so funny. The baby just comes out with that haircut, like the Johnny K+8 haircut, and wants to speak to your manager. Oh, that's so fucking funny. Yeah, that's too good. But so one of the things about us that I find really interesting and why I feel like you and I connected immediately is like, I don't know anyone else that even like slightly navigates this space that's like been on like as big of a spiritual journey as you have. Like, you've done like how many Vipassana silent meditation 10-day retreats?
Too many. 5.
That is wild.
Yeah.
That is
well,
wild.
some of them, to be fair, like, so you can sit ones where so that on those you're meditating, like it's silent the whole time, you're meditating 10 hours a day, and all that. And then a couple, like 2 or 3 of them, I was like, 2 of them I was serving, where you're like basically making the food for everyone. But you're still meditating 4 or 5 hours a day, and you still don't have access to like music, or you're under all, like, no phones, like you're still under all the rules of the center, which is very strict. So it definitely still feels like a full-on course.
I mean, I can't even imagine. I never did Vipassana, but I heard you can't like make eye contact with people. I did like a total of 40 days of silence, but it was a little bit more relaxed in the sense that like I did it spaced out, obviously at different retreat centers, but it was like there was a lot of like Dharma talks where we were like learning things and listening and sitting, and then we did do a lot of meditation as well. But the straight sitting, I can't even imagine, because my knees started really getting to me even in like the 5-hour sitting sessions.
Well, it's funny because, okay, so you have access to like blankets and pillows and whatever to make it more comfortable, because like for anyone who has not like gone on this like path that Lauren and I have gone on, like, it is extremely uncomfortable to sit that long. Like, it's excruciating, actually. But they're like, yeah, take pillows. And also, like, I'll say if people are like injured or disabled, whatever, like they're allowed to sit in a chair. Like, it's not, but if you're able-bodied, they're like, we want you to sit, and part of it is like sitting through your discomfort. Oh, and I forgot too. There's 3 hours a day where it's like, I think it's called like strong determination, where you're supposed to, even if you have, you're not supposed to move whatsoever. So if you have like an itch or like a something, you're not supposed to like itch it. And for me, I think one of the hardest parts of being at that center was like yawning, and then for about 10 minutes watching like a yawn tear just slowly form and like roll down my face, but just wanting to like wipe it away. Nothing's gonna happen to you if you don't, but they're like, try to see it through, try to see if you can sit the whole hour without moving at all. And it's like it is a wild, but yeah. Oh yeah, so with the pillows, people will try to make themselves more comfortable, but you see them starting to stack them up so that people, by the end, some people are on these gigantic like piles of pillows, and I'm like, you're kind of at the same point. You've just created a floor that's like 5 feet off the ground. Like, I don't think it's any better.
The worst like spiritual like pain, like physical pain I've ever had to put myself in is I did Kundalini yoga teacher training. And we had this day where we had to like literally, if you're not watching on YouTube, we had to raise our arms in the air like and keep them up for like, I believe it was like 2.5 hours. And I swear to you, my body thought it was being crucified. And there were obviously a few times I had to put my arms down and like give out, but kept on putting them up. But with the blood rushing, like your hands have like such an insane sensation, and it's such like a crazy rush. Like I see how people have these experiences and think like, oh my God, you know, this is the answer, because it's just such an out of body, like crazy thing that I don't think we're necessarily meant to be doing as humans. But I haven't met anyone other than you that like has delved down that path, which is how we initially connected. Did you like when
Yeah,
you
it's really
started like
special.
I know, and when you started like speaking out about like the your other diversions and interests, like did you have any backlash from people that you knew when you were living in like the west coast of Canada and like on like a very deep spiritual path, and like that was your main thing?
Like when I started talking about celebrities and everything.
Yeah, like when you started TikToking.
Um, I mean, okay, so I'm the type of person where I feel like I always have this sort of like teenage rebellion side in me where it's like if I feel like I have something a perspective that's valid and I get pushback, I will double down on it. And there's a part of me that wonders if that's why part of why I'm so passionate about pop culture because I've always loved it, but I think people being like, "What? You're not someone who should care about that or would be interested or whatever," um has just made like it's emboldened me to want to do it even more, like being surrounded by everyone who like even just turns their nose up at it. It's not just the meditation center, but like I also did like herbal medicine school in like a yurt in the middle of like the mountains of Western Canada. And like my classmates were like so over the top. Like I remember one of them telling me that like because I would show up like blasting like, you know, whatever pop music. And one of them they were like, oh, that's interesting. And like one of them, it hushed in a hushed tone, admitted that Beyonce is her guilty pleasure music. I was like, get the fuck out of here. That's not guilty. That's just what you enjoy. That's why is that a guilty pleasure? Like that you're not listening to like chanting music and like meditation sounds, you know?
Oh my
Can we
God.
enjoy our lives?
I know. And I remember like when we spoke about this, you're like, I'm just trying to vibe. And I was like, I totally get that, because I feel like I spent like a year like pretty much sequestered in like a spirituality boot camp, and I like lived as a Buddhist nun, and I shaved my head, and like, you know, I was in like so much solitude, and then I had a year back to normality and living in LA and getting my bearings, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, I'm actually like not ready to go back into the spiritual retreat, and I'm not ready to like use this solitude to like literally just meditate. Like I'm actually just gonna watch Bravo and like see what people are up to the whole time.
Yeah, like no, totally. It's so cool. Like it just I don't know. It brings me like sanity to know you exist in the world because it's kind of the same thing for me. And I think, you know, sometimes I see it through the lens of like astrology where it's like you're a Capricorn, I'm a Scorpio, like we can get really serious, like a little too serious about life. Like at least I can. And so like dedicated, you know, we really like when we were like boot camp is exactly the right term for it. Like it's almost like signing up for the army where you're like just immersed in it and you're like, yes, this is the way, like waking up at dawn, you know, meditating, all this stuff, like being so disciplined. And for while, I thought that was the answer. And then I had a extra spicy pandemic, just hit a cute little rock bottom. and and then I was like, I think I just want to enjoy my life and like just literally exist and like not try to like do anything or change anything about myself, you know?
I know. And I think like I'm right there with you. It's just I did so much of it, and then when people are being like, "Oh, I want to go on a silent retreat. I want to do this. I want to do that." I feel like I'm always like there for it. And I'm like, "Do it. Do a retreat. Go for it. Get away for the weekend. Get away for 10 days. Do what you need to do for yourself in the moment." But I'm just so out of that space now where I almost am like, "No, like I deserve a treat." You know? Like I'm like I've already done all that really austere stuff, and now I just want to vibe. I'm right there with you on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. The way I explain it to people that are like curious about it is like if you are, I think you should do it. Like and I think of it as like signing up to do a marathon. Like no one signs up to do a marathon and thinks they're going to love every mile. You know, like it's not really about that. It's about taking on a really challenging thing, proving to yourself you can do it. You learn a lot. Like, I know I have no regrets about all my, like, you know, extreme extreme, like, you know, meditation or whatever, for lack of a better term. But like, it was a spiritual marathon, and I did it great. And now, yeah, I'm like, if you want to take me on a retreat where I can do some like stretching, then maybe some like hot tubbing, I'll listen to, you know, maybe like a sound bath and just like laying back. That's about, that's where I'm at.
I'm right
We
there
don't
with
need to
you.
go further than that. Feed
No,
me
I'm
some
right there
good food.
with
I don't
you.
also, yeah.
There's also the like the lifestyle. Like sometimes I'm like, that wasn't like perfectly for me. Like when I was living as a Mai Chi, which is like the novice Buddhist nun, I was like, the lifestyle was so crazy. Like you woke up at like 5 to collect alms and pray for people around the town. Then at 7 you had your first meal, and then at 11 you had your second meal, and then you were done eating for the day. I lost like 20 pounds in a month, and like it was
Same
just
at the
such a
center.
rigid thing. It was called Songda Kalayami. Nobody's going to be able to research that or spell that, but it was in a part of Thailand called Nakhon Patong. And the woman that was there, she was actually considered Thailand's first Buddhist nun, because in the 13th century, basically what had to happen was the lineage was passed down from like nun to nun or monk to monk. So like the last Buddhist nun in that 13th century didn't pass down the lineage of being a nun to another nun. So nuns were basically no longer a thing, at least in Thailand, in Theravada Buddhism. And so what this woman had to do was her mother was in like a Zen Buddhist nun, so it was allowed in that tradition, in the, I think it's Mahayana tradition. But she wanted to be like a Theravada Buddhist nun, which is Southeast Asian Buddhism typically. And so she went to Sri Lanka to get ordained, and she then came back and formed like a sangha in this little town outside of Bangkok. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours outside of Bangkok. And it was a crazy experience because at first people were like committing arson and trying to burn down the sangha, and then they ended up helping the community so much that they, you know, became very revered. And like when I was there, they were helping like young inmates, and we went to like the prison, and like these kids had like face tattoos, but like, you know, the nuns really like worked with them and did a lot of great work. But the woman, Lome, who ran the center, she like was so formidable and like could go, you know, toe to toe with any monk on knowledge. And so I had a lot of respect for her. But it was interesting, like she had a family, you know, so a lot of women became nuns after they had kids and stuff. And it was actually very encouraged there, like if you were, you know, a widow, like to go become a nun after you've done all that. So it was really, really interesting there. And a lot of them, like for a lot of the women, it was like they were really poor. So that was like an insulated community where they could like at least have like their basic needs met. So it was interesting to see. And like I was glad I had a button where I could switch it off, because like definitely for some of them it wasn't necessarily, it was like a way of life that they had to choose in order to get their basic needs met, which I was like, wow, like, you know, you do realize like your privilege when you do go to random places around the world where you're like, oh, they're not really expecting me here. Oh, wow, like I really got to check myself, you know?
Yeah.
But wouldn't have wanted to like live in that every single day for sure.
No, it was the same at the center. Like, yeah, you woke up at 5, you're supposed to meditate 2 hours, and you get breakfast, and then you eat again at 11, and then not again after that. Or like, if you're a returning student, you're supposed to not eat after that. And if you're a new student, you get a snack in the afternoon. But it's so funny because it's like you're allowed tea and fruit, but all the new students, and as a returning student, I started realizing this is a thing everyone does. They think they're being original, where they start to push the snack as far as they can. So they take the fruit, they cut it up into like a little fruit salad, and they take all the tea stuff, so like honey and cinnamon, and like milk, and make a little like fruit salad. And it's like, and I'm like, I did that once, and I'm like, here's me with my tea, I'm like on another level. Like, I don't know, I'm like,
With my
thought it
pillow
was really
fort.
yeah. And I'm like, and now I'm just like, I want access to snacks and comfort at all times.
I could not
So here
agree
we
with you
are.
more.
Like, yeah, I'm glad. Like, I mean, I'm glad we did it, you know, and I'm also glad that we're now just like not live to tell the tale. Like it was an overall positive experience, but yeah, it's just any sort of extremism when you come out of it, you're like, whoa,
No, I know.
that's, it's kind of like coming out of a dream or something, like not a completely other mentality. And now we're just like vibing and talking about celebrities.
I know, and everyone's confused. It's funny, like my account I started as like a meditation accountability account. That's why it was like the Zen Blonde, because I was like 25 and I was really stressed in my job in New York. I was like, I want to be Zen. I want to be peaceful. This is like aspirational for me. And I've always been like a pretty laid back person, but on the inside, I was definitely feeling a lot of inner turmoil just from like being so busy and living in New York and doing all the crazy work stuff. And so on my 25th birthday, that was the first day I went to meditate. And like, my teacher there was like, you don't usually like start meditating when you're in like a great place. And I definitely wasn't. So the improvements of just like I saw my life from just daily meditation were so great. And I think that's why I dove into the extreme, because I was like, oh my gosh, I want to make sure this is like ingrained in me so I don't lose this thing that's helping me with my mental health so immensely. So
Yeah.
that was like kind of, I think, why I dove into the extreme, because I was like, I want to like devote myself to this thing because it's like the thing that's like giving me relief. So
Hmm.
I'm still a proponent of meditation, but honestly, like I'm not a daily meditator anymore. But I think I can get into like a meditative headspace where I can kind of like bring myself to that like Zen place when I'm in a moment of like stress or like anxiety. Um, but yeah, it's just such a crazy journey. I don't know anyone who shares that experience with me, and so it does feel kind of foreign because like it's interesting, like the two things seem to contradict each other, but in a way, like I think everything that I learned in meditation and all these different things like kind of plays into my perspective with like assessing pop culture.
Yeah. I don't see it. Yeah, exactly. I don't see it as um contradicting itself. Like I just I'm I think you might feel the same way. Like I just feel incredibly curious about humans and like human nature, and there's no better way to learn about human nature than go kind of as far as you can possibly go into your own mind, which you never know what you're going to pull out when you silence it, because it's it's crazy in there for everyone, and like, on hour 9 or hour 3 or hour 1, even honestly more than 5 minutes of meditation, like things can get kind of, heated. But you learn about I don't know, like you learn about yourself, you learn a lot about like just the truths of human nature, and it's like if you're looking at anything with that kind of like openness and curiosity, like you're kind of connecting all these dots and learning the same lessons. Like there are a lot of things where it's like everything is connected, that they always talk about basically in every type of meditation practice that there is. And it's like, I mean, we're just connecting the dots.
And the thing
Basically.
is, all paths lead to the same truth. And the truth that I know all paths are leading to is that Kravis needs to stop tongue kissing on the red carpet.
Kravis is just having a midlife crisis, but like they're just loving, like they're just like live laugh loving, like
And if you didn't notice that
I
very quick shift of topics, guys, Kravis is Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker.
I feel like anyone here, if they've made it this far, like anyone who's like just tuning into the Zen Bond, like I'm like, you'd have to be living under a rock to not know about Kravis, because they shove their faces and tongues into like every possible public situation that could exist. Like, and it's funny because I'm like the first one to like just be so hard on the Kardashians and say everything's fake and whatever. I think this is real. I think this is fully real. I don't know how you feel about this, but I think that for better or for worse, they've both come out of these like super horrible marriages, and that they had kids with, that were like kind of like really dysfunctional and loveless, and they're both like on this like vegan sober, they're both like pushing their way, with their matchas and everything through life, and to like find like love in your 40s for the first time would be kind of like this teenage like butterfly crazy experience.
Yeah,
Not
I
that it's excusing it,
agree.
but that's what I think is going on.
Oh, I'm so not mad at their love for each other, and I 100% agree that it's like completely genuine and like honestly, as much as like Courtney already has like many blessings in her life, like I just like hated the way Scott Disick treated her. I think I've definitely like experienced men like that are just like these man children that like, you know, behave so badly, and then the second you're ready to like move away from them, they like swoop in with some love bombing and like suck you back in. And like, you know, she had children with him, and it was just this awful entanglement. So to see her actually like pull the trigger, get married, all these things so quickly with Travis was really amazing. And yeah, I'm just really happy for her. Um,
I think, yeah, I think I'm influenced by the Celebrity Memoir Book Club girls like did a two-part episode on Travis and his memoir, and I didn't realize like what a sex symbol he was. Like I was like a fan of Blink-182 back in the day, but I didn't realize that basically he's had to like carry a stick to like defend himself against like the dozens of women like trying to sleep with him like through at all times throughout his life. Like that's what it seems to like, that's what this case seems to be, which I had no idea that this was a thing. And it's not even like he was talking about it with all that much bravado, but he's like, yeah, I don't know, I just find myself in these situations. And he has like, I don't know, some kind of mystique. There must be something in person that's like more magnetic than what's translating for me like on film or like on the camera, but it's it's working for them. And like I just, yeah, my disdain for Scott, who he's just like the perfect example of someone who's like failed upward, you know. He everyone just carries him along. He's just like this bump on a log, like just so useless and like such a little whiny baby, and has been celebrated for it. So I'm like, I love that she's with like a man now. Like Travis is like a real man.
Yes, and he like is interested in like an age appropriate beautiful woman. I just feel like Scott teeters on the edge of very like very close to that 18th birthday edge where it just kind of creeps me out. That just the age
100%.
difference, because it's like, oh, then if
Like
you're checking out an just 18-year-old, you're checking out 17 and 16-year-olds. Like, I'm sorry, you know.
like no, he's a let's keep a close eye on him kind of guy. Like he's like a date them at the day they turn 18 and then break up with them when they turn 21, you know.
Yes, yes, and then
He's like
like
Leo.
cause so much like emotional damage to these girls that like aren't in your age category, so don't have as much experience, just left the home, like probably haven't dated a quote unquote man, but we really mean man child. Um,
No,
so
someone he's dating people that have been fucked up by being Lisa Rinna's daughter, and then goes right to him, like, you know.
or like
Like
yeah, the
just
Sophia Richie, like, you know, she was so young and like grew up in like another Hollywood family, and it's just like, to me, I mean, he had to have known them when they were younger than 18. You know, he didn't just suddenly meet
ugh.
them. You know, so the whole thing kind of grosses me out. Somebody commented on my post about Courtney and Travis today, like, oh, Scott's outside. Don't worry. It was like somebody checking on Scott, and they were like, don't worry about Scott. He's waiting outside of a high school looking for his new girlfriend. And it was like, oh, that's like too true of a joke for it to be funny. Like, you know, I'm just like, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Just,
When he was still with Amelia Bedelia, or Amelia, what's her name? Amelia Scott Hamlin? No, Amelia Hamlin? No, Amelia, right? Amelia
Amelia
Hamlin?
Hamlin, I think, yeah.
Yeah. When he was still with Amelia, he it was like him, Amelia, Courtney, and Travis all went out for dinner together, and Travis liked and unliked this tweet that was like, what the fuck, like, are these like adults gonna have to talk about like these grown adults with this like 18-year-old girl at like dinner? That's the most awkward thing I've ever heard of. And he like liked it and then quickly unliked it. I was like, yeah, imagine like you're trying to co-parent, you're like, all right, I guess you've been together for a year, I guess we all have to like sit down and try to have a civil dinner. But it's like, so like, what do you guys like? You know, what does an 18-year-old have to say to a bunch of 40-year-olds?
And the poor thing would have more in common with Mason, you know? She'd have to like go sit at the
Or
kids' table
Penelope.
so they can chit chat about like
Penelope
TikTok.
Penelope acts like a little teenager. She looks, you know, she has like the fake, like the gel nails and like her lashes done. So she looks like kind of like a 17-year-old, and she's like all sassy, you know, she's Courtney's daughter. So like, actually, this is really disturbing, but there were some times when I would see photos at a glance, and I would have to look and see if it was Penelope or Amelia. Like,
That is
disturbing.
crazy. But when you think about it, they're so close in age. You know who else is a
Yeah.
vibe? I don't know if you've caught her on live, but Alabama Barker is a vibe.
Yes.
She's
I
a vibe and
follow
a half.
Alabama. I follow both of Travis's, or he has 3 kids, but Landon Barker also he has a vibe. He's all into this, like, he has like always has like a white tuxedo type of thing on. It's like, it's very, yeah, I don't know.
Alabama Barker, like, it just
Love and light.
It teeters on the edge of like maybe problematic and like maybe appropriation, but like I can't even can't even go there. But I'm like, girl, I see her at Erewhon just acting like, literally, I'm just like, dude, I don't know what movie or TV show or, you know, music video like led you to this behavior that doesn't really seem like you. I don't know what kind of show she's putting on, but it is interesting, and being a teenager is tough, so I'm sure she's just going through it.
I think I just looked at her through an incredibly like sympathetic lens, because when like Kravis was getting together, like her mom, Shanna, like Mogler, she kept like tweeting things out being like, you ruined my family, and like liking tweets that said that, and being like, well, now I have no more family, and like I'm all alone because like and it's like, okay, no matter what is going on with your family and your divorce, whatever, you don't talk about it in front of your kids. And if you're comfortable tweeting this to the world, like, who knows what is going on behind closed doors. And like, so I think I guess I just see her as like a troubled teen. Like, who
I don't know why that's like a funny title.
No, I know, because she's like I know, because she's like from like a millionaire, like she's doing fine obviously, but I just like I have sympathy for like people that anyone can Google like their parents saying like fucked up things to each other publicly for the world to see. Like, this, it's so embarrassing being a teenager on a good day.
It is. She's just vibing and like figuring herself out, I think, but it's an interesting thing to watch, and I think that I feel that she will have a cool new stepmom that will hopefully light the way for her and be more of like a mother figure, because that is really tough to have like your parents tweeting like that, and just being a teenager in general, you're right, is like the toughest time. But yeah, she's just a vibe. Every time she hops on live, you know, I'm like, what's going on? What the hell is going on?
Wellness check. Yeah, I mean, TBD on how involved Courtney even is with her own kids, but you know, I don't know. Like, when there was a while back, oh my god, I know too much. There was a while back where she did this like day in a life, and it was like when her and Addison Rae were best friends, and it was like every morning we wake up, we do a workout together, then we like have breakfast, then we jump in the pool, then we sit around, then we do that, and it was like a full day. And they kept joking. It was clear that this was actually their everyday. Like, they're like, oh, and then we like, you know, the way like friends have these little like side conversations between them, like best friends. It was clear like this is their everyday routine. I'm like, I don't want to be that person online, but I'm like, where are your kids? Like, what do you mean every day you're hanging out with this like 19-year-old TikToker in the pool? Like, I mean, it sounds like fun, but
what about the children, Courtney?
Yeah, I hate that I'm being that guy. Like, I'm like, what am I, like a Midwestern mommy? Like, where are your children? But I'm like, I don't know. Like,
where are the kids?
Sounds like yeah. But whatever. That's not what this is about.
She also, like, I heard, like, pays her, like, nannies or, like, and help's the wrong word, but, like, staff, like, $26 an hour or something, or maybe $36. And I'm like, you should be paying way more. And, like, part of that payment should be, like, they will adhere to the NDA. Because if they're getting paid $26 an hour and they're listening, like, please come on my show. You know?
Yeah. She's like, once Poosh generates more revenue, like, I'll be able to pay you more. Once it's revenue generating, because it's still in the red.
We're just pushing through like the glass ceiling, you know.
So I saw someone in the comments call Poosh Courtney's Tumblr account, and I am cry. Like, that is the funniest. That is like the funniest. It is. It's just a glorified Tumblr account, but God bless her. She takes it very seriously.
Oh dear Lord, that is
Yeah.
amazing. It's like her
So
Pinterest.
yeah, like yeah, whatever. I wish for the best for everyone in this scenario, but I'm just like, oh.
I
I
know.
mean, I don't know.
It's honestly such a hot mess. And like, do you believe that Kim and Pete are a real relationship?
No, definitely not. I think they're really enjoying each other's enjoying each other's company. I mean, what is real? The thing is with Kimberly Kardashian, what is real? Because it's not like I don't think a lot of things in her life are quote unquote fully real. But if a manager has set you up and there's NDAs, does that make it not real? Like, I don't know. Like, the rules don't apply to her in a normal way, but I do think that, I mean, they're probably like, I think the giggles are real. They're probably spending real time together, but the way that it's all being orchestrated and played out, there's no way. It's just like, oh hey, like what are you doing on Tuesday? You want to come over? Like, it's not. That's not what it is
Yeah,
to
no,
me.
absolutely. I think I just saw an article today. You know, it was like Kim going to meet Pete's grandparents in Staten Island, but she literally looks like she's stepping into the fucking Matrix. And I'm like, can she just, oh, can she stop with these outfits? But it's so funny because like when I saw her in LA when she was doing the interview with Hillary Clinton, again, it was like that really crazy tight ponytail braid, like slicked back, like leather, trench coat, like Matrix crazy sunglasses vibe. And I'm like, again, it's just it feeds into this dystopian vibe we've been feeling, and it makes me so uncomfy. I'm like, please just set your hair free. That hair style looks really uncomfortable. The outfit looks like it's the worst thing you could possibly be wearing in LA. It's too much for me.
But I mean, it that doesn't make me any less like any more uncomfortable than when she was like in Wyoming with Kanye wearing the full leather outfits in like full summer. It was just like head to toe like leather, like long sleeve long leather pants, and I'm like, the sweat, like the sweat that must be generated. Like, I mean, maybe she has like Botox all over her body and just like doesn't sweat. Like, I don't know, but 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 I mean, it's funny because just before this, I was on a meeting with someone talking about something completely different. But she was like, I just have to say, like, I've seen your TikToks and I need to make the case for Pete and Kim. And she went on a rant and, like, she had me convinced. Like, for a moment, she was like, look, they both lost their dads. They both, like, love their mothers. They love, like, strong female figures. They both, like, love to, like, laugh. Like, she was, like, making this case. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, totally. But then I remembered, like, me saying that they are not real is not saying that they don't like each other. I think even just hanging out with Pete now and again would be a super refreshing, like, post divorce, just like fling or whatever. But then you incorporate like the timing of the show, Kanye's rants when they've gone public with everything, plus like the branding, and it's just like, okay, guys, you're doing too much.
Oh my God, I know. And Kanye's like music videos about like, because the thing is, like, are they probably hooking up and like enjoying each other's company? But like, was it completely set up? Like, yes and yes. And like Kanye's music video, like with depicting Pete as like dead and all that stuff was just so out of line, which is why I was like, can't even believe he's like nominated for all these Grammys. And again, people are like, let the music speak for itself. But like, it's funny because reality does creep into it, but these people's lives are so set up. I mean, I'm sure you've seen like all the backgrid photos where now they're getting their their paparazzi shots edited. So it's like everything's a fucking funhouse mirror with this family. Like I just
Yeah.
it's all like distorted.
Exactly. And that's the thing, that the conversation of if it's real or not, it's a little different for them than anyone else because everything is like, is it real? Is it not? Like, they play with that with the public, and that's part of their whole strategy. So it is interesting. Speaking of Kanye being nominated, like, I don't know if you saw, he just backed out as a headliner for Coachella. So I would love to be a fly on the wall of the planning committee being like, what superstar can we get to throw a set together in the next week.
Oh my God, you're so right. You're so right, because Kanye is such a big draw. Like, I know he did Sunday service at one of the Coachellas my sister was at, and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it was like you couldn't even get into that area where that stage was at a certain point. It was just like too many people, which is
Yeah.
scary in and of itself, given the like last year of music with that family. I don't know if like after Astroworld, like I think I have like a new apprehension about like music, like going to see live music in big groups. Like that just to me like was such a scary thing. But if there's proper planning, I guess those things don't happen. But yeah, that will be really interesting. The other thing we didn't even mention, Emily, is that Kravis got married in Vegas the night after the Grammys.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So there might not
Oh.
be legal paperwork, but I don't know. Did you see that Courtney, Travis was having to hold her up and she was kind of drunk?
TMZ just like I think a second before I came on the air with you had to like issue another statement being like, "Oh, actually they're not legally married, but they just did a thing." So I don't know. Like they're all just like this is part of their like live laugh love like divorcee midlife crisis journey. There's like we're going to Vegas like we're so crazy and I'm like, I don't sure. Go on you crazy kids. Like
I love how Benny
you
Drama
know?
called her like the pop princess of punk, Courtney. I'm like, she really is the pop princess of punk right now. And then you have Travis, and she's just like
Anarchy.
edgy, like Vegas,
Yeah.
shotgun wedding,
Yeah.
like tongues.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, oh my god, the tongues outside of the mouth. I don't know if you have to like have a certain level of like wealth and be like wanting to be like a bad girl enough to like kiss with both your tongues outside of your mouths cuz like I'm like it seems to it's like a I don't know, it's a move, it's a
It's like
it's
we
their
get it,
thing.
you're fucking.
Yeah, we have seen everything but P and V from them in public. Like
Yes.
borderline that's then maybe the next step. Like I don't even,
Are people gonna
what
start
have we
like?
not seen?
I just am like, is there gonna be like a sex tape intentionally released? Is Courtney gonna try to really become the like most interesting to look at? You know?
Courtney just doesn't care. She's just like so wild and free right
She
now.
is the pop princess of punk, and I'm kind of living for it. And honestly, again, even though like questionable like parenting and questionable on so many levels, we watched her with Scott for so many years, and I just feel like she deserves a treat, you know. And
Yeah.
I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them, and I also, again, can be the first to condemn that entire family for many things, but switching up gears a little bit, you I feel like are leading or basically led the charge on some of this Kaylor stuff, which is the Karlie Kloss and Taylor Swift relationship conspiracy. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about that because I feel like that is a very interesting topic and you've connected all the dots.
I mean, like where to even begin? I had this moment where I was talking to my friend like so yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm insane and I've done a 3-part Kaylor podcast series on my I've done like 6 recorded hours that are like is out to the world about it was meant to be one part and then we're like okay just one more and then we're like ooh and then we got this guest expert who has an entire podcast dedicated to queer analysis of Taylor Swift's work, um, who brought in a whole new wealth of information. And the thing is, I'm just like, to the outside, if you've never like dipped into any of these theories, it sounds insane. And I wasn't like a Kaylor truther at all, and like for a very long time because I was like, basically, if you followed any friends around, you could make the case that they're like secretly dating. Like if you followed me and any of my friends around, you could make the case because we're like hugging and like close and just whatever, like being friends, normal like friend stuff. But you could you can capture a moment where we're like scowling or gazing into each other's eyes or whatever like and frame it in such a way. So I was like, okay, people just want to believe what they want to believe. But then you start to scratch beneath the surface and you start to look at all the lyrics and all the evidence and you become the meme of the guy pointing to the wall like with all the things written on the wall. And to me it's like it there's no way that every song of hers is about a man or about Joe or about any of these flings that she's had publicly.
Yeah, I think the smoking gun was the concert footage of them. Like it looks like they're like kind of making out.
Kissgate. Yeah.
Kissgate. So that was the smoking gun for me, where I was like, And then like there were just little things in the media that were said where it seemed like maybe they were gonna say something about their relationship. But then it's like, are we leading the charge on Kaylor QAnon? I don't know. But there does seem to be a lot of evidence, and then I think too, just like Taylor having to maintain a certain, or feeling the pressure to maintain a certain public image, wanting to keep certain things private.
Yeah, and like, and I'm not, it's like I'm not putting her in danger. That's the thing.
No.
Like it's not right or fair to out someone who's like a normal person. It's none of my business what normal people's like, private lives are. This is not celebrities, it's different. Their life literally hinges on like us being interested in it, and her work is writing about her relationships, and also her work has to do with like deep analysis of what's between the lines. That's like every song of hers has subtext, and that's just because she's a brilliant songwriter. But like the amount of songs on like her last couple albums, even like there's multiple like lyrics about being in the closet. Like there's there's like there's a lyric from like Seven where it's like I I think you should come live with me and we could be pirates, then you won't have to cry or hide in the closet. Like things like that where it's like, okay, what is that about Joe? What are you what's going on?
That's
And then
very
there's the merch. So there's been a lot of merch recently that's a little like interesting and questionable. So like one of them is she came out with a bunch of lover merch for Valentine's Day this year. And it was like one of them was like those friendship heart necklaces that are like broken and it says you're my lover, and it was like you're my lover best friend necklace. It's like, huh? Like, I'm close with my friends. I don't call them my lovers, things like that.
Dang.
And then yeah, and then she had like this was all stuff that Madison of the Archers podcast pointed out, that all of the other lover merch from that same drop all had symbols that she had like previously publicly said like represented Carly to her. So like swans and sun, she was like, Carly is like the sunshine, that's the emoji that represents her, and it was like the sunshine emoji, just like things like that. And it was like on Valentine's Day this year when Lover's been out for like years.
And the thing is, Taylor doesn't do anything unintentionally,
No.
So she's very good at like weaving in little Easter eggs and stuff. And so, oh man, it's a minefield. You guys have to go listen to like Emily's episodes on this, because it's just,
oh my god, it's psychotic. But we need to talk about Kaylor is the name of the series. But yeah, like or even she just came out too with she has a notebook for the song like Right Where You Left Me, and that song is all about like friends moving on and getting married, but like I'm right where you left me. And there's lyrics about basically how like you don't know every part of the story, and there's like lyrics about how like pages are glued together, so like basically no one will ever be able to like see what's written in those pages. And then she just made like a Right Where You Left Me notebook. So I think she's trolling the Gaylor community a little bit.
oh my god. And then there's the Diana Argon, like I think that's how you say her name. There's like theories about
Agron, yeah.
Taylor and her too, so it's not like it's the first
oh no, I'm a Swift Gron believer as well. So yeah, I've drank in the Kool-Aid. I've gone too far down the rabbit hole.
She's in too deep. She's in too deep. I know. There was a weird post about Taylor and Joe being engaged, and I haven't heard anything about it since.
But that's like, yeah, it's just like what's interesting about that is like, okay, so I understand she's private, very, very private about her life. Fair enough, totally fair. But even the most private celebrities, like you know pop culture like so well too. It's like you know where they live, like I mean just like the state that they live in.
Right.
Even if they're the most private, they're really reclusive, they live in Ohio and live a quiet life, whatever. Like you just vaguely know where they live. Where do her and Joe live? Do they live together? Do they live in England? Do they live in the States? Like no one even knows that. And it's like, We just see an occasional back-grid photo of them pop up, but like where are they?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Ireland and like I have a bunch of family there, and one of them was telling me there's this like I forget the name of the castle, but there's this beautiful castle, and I think it's in County Kerry, where you can go and stay and sleep over, and like she got lost running and she was staying there. But like it's like, okay, did anyone even know that she was like there? You know, she's just like so she could be in any obscure place. You could be in Big Sur and run into her and Carly, you know? I mean, anything could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying she's not never been to England, but like just like, it's like it's just something that I wonder, and there's so much more to the story, but I had this moment where I was talking to a friend about it, and I had this flash of like seeing myself from the outside and seeing someone like listen to me from an outsider's perspective, and I had this like horrific moment of being like, "Oh my god, like do I sound like the Manson family? Like they literally like they said they thought that like the Beatles were telling them special messages to like go out and like through their music." Like, no, you don't get it. Taylor's talking to us in secret languages. Like,
Oh my God, I am actually dying. You do not. You're one of like many people on Reddit. And the thing is, I think it's like what's happening now is like there's these deep Reddit theories that people are finally like publicly sharing on like places like TikTok and podcast platforms where like everyone's diving in deeper. We're getting kind of this like really wide lens look at like what the information is, and I just think that like there does seem to be some credence to it. And honestly, I don't know if we'll ever know, but I hope she saves it for the memoir. Could you imagine like how they have The Crown if there was something like that for like Taylor when we're really old?
well, what's really funny, so at the very end of our Kaylor series, like we were talking about how on Folklore, like she says it's all fictional. So Folklore and Evermore is supposed to be completely fictional. And it involves these three characters, James, Betty, and Inez, and it's this love triangle between them. But James, Betty, and Inez are the names of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's three daughters, which is interesting to note that like this fictional love triangle, but it is between them. And we were like, we were we were laughing, being like, she has this 20-year plan when like those daughters are grown up, and then she's gonna like do an interview and like like reveal all of this like to them in this like planned like performance piece docu-series. I don't know, she's always 10 steps ahead, so I bet she has thought this through, and maybe she'll never, no one has to like reveal their truth or come out or confirm anything. But
No, but it's kind of, I think she's just such a genius because the amount of engagement she gets by, letting her fans know that there's like hidden meanings in things. Like, of course people do this, and she designed it that way because regardless of it just being genius and about her life and all these other things, it's also just like she has created insane fan engagement where there's Swifties and like, so, and my sisters really were like huge Taylor fans, and I was a little bit older, so I caught the boat a little bit later. But I remember like my parents just had like an extra ticket to the Red Tour, and I went and I like immediately became a fan because I was like, dang, like this music's actually really good, and like I really like her. But I slowly got into like the fan theories because of TikTok, and honestly, like there's so much credence to so many of them, and she leaves all these little breadcrumbs, so it makes total sense. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song?
oh. Don't do this to me. Oh my god. I guess probably, I don't know, I want to say maybe like Cardigan. I'm like, what's my favorite song to cry in the car to at the moment of Taylor's? Like probably Cardigan.
They released that Disney like folklore thing at like the perfect time for me to just like lay on like my carpet like crying just in a ball. It was like the deep pandemic.
The Long Pond sessions?
Yeah, whenever
Or
that
no,
Disney thing came out, and it was like, I just like was sitting there listening to the entire album, just like, are we ever gonna get out of this fucking pandemic? Like, just
Yeah.
crying.
No, and I love that she said, like, she's like, I realized I needed a good cry, and then I realized everyone needed a good cry, so I just like wrote folklore, and like, she kind of gave us what we needed music wise, and like it's never been a better time to be a Swiftie. I've had people say that, like, it's too late for them, like they don't know where to start. But I'm like, you know, she just keeps pumping out music, pumping out re-releases constantly, like every month it seems. So I'm like, just hop on whenever.
I agree completely, and I think that it's never too late to jump on the Taylor train, and she's gonna give us more and more and more throughout the years, and she's a fun one to watch because she is very cryptic and in a way that she wants to be. My favorite's probably Don't Blame Me because that's such a fucking bop. Like it's like you can really rock
It's
out to Don't Blame Me.
underrated. Yes, it's her. Okay, oh my god,
It's so
I'm
good.
I'm a Reputation head. I love Reputation so much. It's sometimes my favorite album, and Don't Blame Me is like her most underrated song in my opinion.
100,000%. If you're listening and you haven't listened to Don't Blame Me, like I don't know how it wasn't like a huge thing that was on the radio all the time. I actually Reputation, like I know that's one of the albums that people don't love the most, but there's a lot of really good songs on Reputation, and I feel like it's the kind of music that can like pump you up and get you ready to like get in the zone. Taylor has
Fight someone.
She get exactly. It gets me ready to go into my alleyway to get into my apartment when I'm dealing with the man with the machete.
I'm still haunted by you telling that story, by the way. Like an urban machete. There's nothing more horrifying than an urban machete. Basically, the only place it belongs is the jungle.
What I will say is if you looked at my Citizen app, machetes are quite common in Venice, and it's just one of those things that I feel like I'm like I go into this zone where I could be Carrie in that show. What show is she in? Homeland. Like I turn into like a Homeland character where I'm like, okay, we've checked the alley, we've checked the courtyard. All right, we're going down. We're gonna turn the corner. We're gonna check like where the laundry room is, and like it's a whole little song and dance.
Maybe you need a machete. No.
I kind of think I do. I have bear spray, so it shoots like further than pepper spray, and it's just.
Lauren, I'm gonna say, as someone who has spent a lot of time in the backwoods, and has had to have bear spray on me, if you're ever needing to use it, think about where the wind's blowing. That's just something to keep in mind. just be aware of that. From a Canadian wilderness gal to you.
That is a very good point, and I think you may have just helped me in my like, a brilliant escape plan. I'm like Macaulay Culkin, like I have like booby traps set up in my apartment for.
Yeah.
Thankfully we knock on wood, we've been lucky, but.
Yeah, if you have to use it, just take a second, think about where the wind's blowing, and that's it. That's just get upwind of it, and then go for it.
I fucking love you.
Let her loose.
Emily, this has been fucking amazing. I love you. You need to come back on. But tell everyone where they can find you.
So much. Yeah, so you can find me. It's Become a Whole Thing on TikTok, Instagram, my podcast. Yeah, wandering the streets of Montreal, not armed with a machete. I'm like, maybe I should get one because I do want to come visit you at some point. I'm like,
Oh, it's all right. We'll totally we'll just totally get into like our Homeland mode together. Like I honestly think that like I should apply to be like a clandestine 9 like CIA position after living in Venice, just because it's just a journey. It's a journey, and it's also just there's so much fun stuff to do, but it's a journey. But anyway, Emily, you are the best. You're coming back on. We need to dive in again. And thank you so much, my Canadian soul sister. I will see you soon.
I'll talk to you so soon, and yeah, I'll have to have you on my pod as well sometime very soon.
All right, guys, and that is our show for today. Emily is the best. Anyone that's Canadian is always the best, and I had so much fun chatting with her. You definitely have to go check out, she's a Kaylor series. It's 3 parts. She dives into all the Taylor Swift theories, And I was actually on her podcast a few weeks ago, so definitely check that out too. We dove more into some spirituality stuff as well. But Emily is just such a delight, and just honestly love her to bits. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. That's our show today, and I will see you next week.